simpler in French. Okay, here's a person. What's person in French? So that's very easy. So here's a person, and usually when a person wants to learn a language, they really want to learn it like sort of where they can speak from the heart. So that's usually our goals, is to be able to like have something, you know, when we say speak from the heart, we mean like we can say what's on our mind, we can express ourselves, like speak from the heart. And so they want to be able to generally, like the goal is to be able to like talk in the language and say like hello, bonjour. And then to be able to continue on and not have to like be slow and have to think about like what am I going to say next. They want to be able to speak the new language eventually, like they speak their first language. So they're just able to express themselves and speak from the heart. Now, a lot of classes actually don't really teach to the heart. They teach to the brains. So when I took French class in high school, my teacher was a great teacher. I loved her. She inspired me. She made me want to become a French teacher too. But back in those days, we did a lot of like learning with our brains and like memorizing things. So I was super good at that. We would do like flashcards, where it'd be like shock. And on the back it'd say, what would it say on the back?
Cat.
Yeah, on the back it said cat. So I was really good at making flashcards. I love vocabulary, and I was like super good at memorizing all these things. And then we'd learn rules. For instance, here's a rule. All right. When you have de and le, which is of the, in French it combines to make du. So it's kind of like, you never say de le, it sounds dumb. You know how we say like an elephant, and you said elephant, it sounds kind of weird. So de le sounds super weird if you're talking in French. So it always combines to be du. That's of the. It's just like one word that means of the. So we learned all these rules. Oh, but then, you know, there's always exceptions to the rule, right? So if you have the word pas, which means not, in your sentence, then the du actually doesn't stay there after the pas. It changes back to de, and the le goes away. Except if before this the word is, which in French is a. If it's me, it's suis. Like I am, it is, or he is, or she is. So if the word is, then this rule doesn't apply, and it's still du after. And then sometimes, if you want to sound like poetic, like beautiful poetry, you'll still say do, even if you have pas and a verb up here that's not is. So, I don't know, it gets a little complicated, you know, after a while. And the problem is that like when I went to France for the first time after I'd taken French for 3 years, and I was making really good grades. It was like A+ on my flashcards, A+ on my du test. Like I did good on everything. But then I went to France and I did this homestay, and I'd taken French for 3 years. But I was like, I could say bonjour, but then it was like, So it took me a really long time because I was always like looking in my brain for the thing I was supposed to say. And I was really sad. Like I thought I was gonna go to France and make all these wonderful friends, and I actually had a crush on this guy named Xavier, but I couldn't even talk to him. He was really cute too.
His name was Xavier?
Xavier, yes, Xavier. So I was so sad, and I thought, gosh, I studied so hard, I did everything, I made A's. What's the problem? So then later on, I became a teacher, and I learned in teacher school what was going on. So when we want to learn how to speak from the heart and not have to like think about all the rules and stuff, and like it slows us down. We just don't have enough time. You know, like if we're trying to like talk to a really cute guy, like we don't have time to look for the rules, especially when our heart is like going pitter patter and we're like trying to talk to somebody we really like and make a good impression. So when we're stressed or when we don't have time, like we can't really use those rules very easily. You're gonna sound like me. Oh, bonjour. And I'm like, oh great, what are we gonna say? And he'd say things to me and I'd be like, what is he saying? I don't know. Maybe he was saying like, I want to be with you for the rest of the days of my life. And I was like, what? So who knows? So I learned as a teacher that, like in teacher school, that things had kind of changed since 1988 when I started taking French, back in the old days before we had the internet. So things had changed, and they had learned, well, they knew this back then, but teaching takes a while to change. Teachers are kind of conservative, you know, we just like to trod the well-trod path, you know, the one that we learned by, because a lot of teachers think, well, I don't know, I learned all those rules, then I can talk French now. But really what happened was that I went to college and I majored in French. And when I majored in French, we had a class called conversation. We had a class called culture. We had a class called film, literature. We even had classes in linguistics, which is studying all these rules and stuff and how come they work the way they work. But all of these, do you think if you major in French, they teach you in English or they teach you in French?
English.
They don't. Once you become like a French major, they're teaching you in French. So you're learning all these things in French. And so when I was learning all that stuff in French, I was getting what I needed to be able to, I mean, speaking French for me is not as easy as speaking English by a long shot, because my English is my first mother tongue, you know. But I got enough to where generally I can speak from the heart. I don't have to be so slow anymore, so I can actually like say some things because I got all of these experiences of communicating in French. So actually communicating in French is the way that we end up with that ability to just not be like, but to be able to say things and make sentences and express ourselves in French. So that's why, Joe, I was telling you that you're fortunate because it's your first language learning experience and it's going to be a lot different from mine. I want you, if you meet somebody cool, to be able to talk to them and not like me with Xavier, like, oh, I actually literally have this picture of Xavier and me from like 1994. And it's kind of, I mean, I'm married now, I'm happy, it's all good, I've gotten over it. But I saw this picture a couple of years ago of like this couch with all like the exchange students and like all the French kids like sitting, and Xavier was like giving me bunny ears and like looking at me like, And you don't do that to somebody that you don't want to be friends with. And I was like, dang it, he actually wanted to be my friend. I can tell from his body language. But I couldn't tell from his French language because I couldn't understand what he was saying and I couldn't talk to him. So that's what I set about as a teacher to learn. And I've always taught this way ever since the first day that I taught French. And I have found my students making great gains in their ability to listen to French, communicate in French, and express themselves from the heart about various topics that they're interested in. For instance, I actually do enjoy linguistics. I think it's quite interesting. So to be able to talk about that in another language is quite fun. So this week what we're going to do is the first 2 days, we're going to spend like talking about ourselves and we're making another character. Maybe it could be the artist again, the dude. Hopefully that'll work out. You'll need like a junior artist though to help you out. You got to train somebody new. And so we'll be telling stories and just kind of talking about basic stuff. And then after about 2 days, surprisingly, you'll be ready to do a little studying about France in French and sort of learning about some culture and some various like topics in French. So you might be surprised by the end of the week what you can actually do. Are there any questions before we actually get started? Yes, they do.
Remember last year when we were learning about the like the history, and
all the social studies symbols?
And we started saying like Vive la Canada and then Vive la France.
I'm so happy that like even after a whole entire year and we only did that for like an hour, you still remember things. That's so great. So another thing that I just want to share with you before we start is that educational researchers have actually done research on like how people remember things better. And believe it or not, when we have a good time and we are like feeling positive emotions, or actually when we're having a bad time and we're feeling negative emotions, it doesn't matter. But I don't want to give you negative emotions. I want to give you positive emotions, okay? So when we're feeling strong emotions, like those folks over there, we actually remember things better. So obviously the dude thought that was an enjoyable experience and he was enjoying, learning about that topic. So the fact that you still remember that a whole year later, I'm very impressed. Nice job. You can thank your brain.
And whenever we said some word, Nick went moo.
I know. Oh, vachement. Vachement means cow. Well, vache is cow. But vachement is like a slang word in French that means like wicked, whatever. I can use that word with you guys because you're in the Northeast.
And we were like, it meant cow.
Yeah, so every time Nick would be like,
so like whenever anything is cool, cowy.
Yeah, and so Nick would move. All right, you guys, so why don't you just turn to your partner and tell them a little bit about what you learned, and then we'll move on and talk about some stuff in French.
I learned about
Now, you folks, have you guys ever had a class in school, a language class before?